Boredom is a test, not a punishment. It is not something you suffer. It is something you waste. Most people fear the feeling of boredom because it strips away distraction. It reveals how hollow their routines have become. They panic, searching for noise to drown the silence. They run to their phones, to pointless entertainment, to cheap dopamine. But what if I told you boredom is not the enemy? It is the gateway. You are not overwhelmed. You are under-challenged. Your brain is simply operating without direction. Left idle, it loops into predictable behaviors. But your time, this precise moment, is still your most valuable resource. The fact that you're bored only means you're not using it correctly. So the question becomes, what do you do now? What action do you take when no one is watching and nothing is expected of you? This is the moment that separates the elite from the average. The moment when most people fall into the algorithm. But you have a choice. You can use boredom as a tool. You can use it as leverage. You can extract value from the void. That is the method of control. And if you study the habits of people like Ayanokoji, you'll realize this is exactly what he would do. He wouldn't waste time. He would weaponize it. Start with your environment. Your room is a mirror of your mind. If your space is messy, your thinking is scattered. If your desk is cluttered, your focus is fractured. Ayanokoji's space is minimalist. Plain. Empty. Not because he cares about aesthetics, but because distraction is inefficient. Every object is functional. Every item serves a purpose. Remove everything that doesn't. The random souvenirs. The gadgets you don't use. The items you think you might need one day. You won't. Don't organize. Eliminate. Sentimental value is emotional attachment to inefficiency. Cut it. If an object doesn't serve your goals, it's holding you back. You are not a storage unit. You are a system. Start with your desk, then your shelf, then your wardrobe. Do it tactically in zones. Not to clean, but to assert control. Because discipline starts where you live. Once you neutralize external noise, the next step is internal calibration. Most people think they have good awareness. They don't. They rely on their vision for everything. They don't engage the rest of their nervous system. They move reactively, without calculation. This is why an exercise as simple as navigating your room blindfolded can expose your limitations. When you remove sight, the body has to compensate. Suddenly, you begin to notice things you've ignored your entire life. The feel of the air near a doorway, the texture of the floor, the subtle slope of the room. Your equilibrium sharpens. Your awareness increases. You build a mental map through sound, touch, and pressure. Every step becomes a calculation. Your proprioception, your sense of position in space, becomes active. You are no longer walking. You are navigating. This is more than a game. This is neural adaptation. You are training your body to move with strategy. And once movement becomes deliberate, thinking must follow. You realize how many actions you perform without intent. How much time is spent in autopilot. That realization is the first step to breaking it. Because now you've removed external chaos. You've begun training spatial control. But there is still a deeper layer of awareness left unexplored. The subconscious. Lucid dreaming is not a fantasy. It is a technique. A state in which your mind is awake while your body sleeps. Most people dream passively. They experience. They don't control. In a lucid dream, you do both. You can fly. You can simulate environments. You can rehearse conversations. Train memory. Practice skills. All within the limitless framework of your imagination. And the best part, it's neurologically real. When you visualize an action vividly, your brain treats it as actual practice. This is why elite athletes mentally rehearse. Why world-class performers use visualization. Lucid dreaming takes this to its peak. It is a mental simulation without physical limitation, but it requires preparation. You train for it during the day. You build awareness. Every few hours you stop and ask, am I awake? You question your environment. Look for details. Search for anomalies. And with repetition, this habit carries into your dreams. You become conscious inside the subconscious. Pair this with meditation. Meditation isn't about relaxation. It's about observation. Your breath, your posture, your thoughts. You are not trying to stop your thoughts. You are trying to observe them without reacting. This develops metacognition, the ability to think about thinking. It creates mental distance from impulse. And in boredom, this becomes your edge. Because now, instead of fleeing discomfort, you analyze it. Why am I bored? What would solve it? What action would move me forward? Most people never ask. They distract. But boredom is not emptiness. It is the absence of stimulation. Your brain begins searching. the default mode network activates. A set of brain regions responsible for introspection, memory, and imagination. This is when real ideas emerge. Solutions, insights, clarity. Boredom forces the brain to create its own entertainment. Do not consume it. If you sit with boredom long enough, the mind starts to wander toward purpose, toward long-term goals, toward what matters. But this process only works if you resist the urge to interrupt it. Don't fill the void. Observe it. The longer you last without distraction, the more powerful your ideas become. The deeper your drive becomes. This is how intrinsic motivation is born. It doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from silence. And once you learn to sit in boredom without fleeing, your discipline evolves. You are no longer a slave to your impulses. You're not reaching for your phone. You're not numbing the discomfort. You are converting it into momentum. That's what people like Ayanokoji do. They don't waste time feeling bored. They exploit it. Now, with your mind in control and your environment neutralized, you begin to operate differently. You wake up with clarity. You act without hesitation. You no longer require motivation. You rely on systems. You start each day with structure. You don't wait until you feel like doing something. You do it because it must be done. That's the mindset shift. Every time you feel bored, you run the same program. Clean your space. Train your senses. Observe your thoughts. Explore your subconscious. Study strategically. Repeat. There is no emotion attached to it. No need for hyper-validation. It is simply what you do. Most people will never understand this. They will continue to scroll, to binge, to seek novelty. They will burn hours for the sake of escaping discomfort. And they will justify it. I'm just relaxing. I needed a break. I'll be productive later. Later becomes never. This is the cycle. And it continues forever unless interrupted by discipline. But you are not most people. You're watching this because you are beginning to see through the illusion. You are starting to understand that boredom is not a signal to run away. It is a signal to step forward, to engage with reality, and to shape it. There will always be an excuse to waste time, but there will never be more time to waste. This is it. This is the moment. What you do now defines who you become next. So decide, do you spend your free time like everyone else? Or do you move tactically like someone who understands the value of control? The choice is yours. But only one path leads to transformation. Only one path separates the elite from the average. And it always starts in boredom. You've made it to the end. That alone separates you from the majority. Most people wouldn't. They stop halfway. They get distracted. They quit. But you didn't. That says something about you. You're different. You want more, not excitement, not entertainment, but control, clarity, and strength. Now act accordingly. Click like, not because it helps me, but because it tells the algorithm this content aligns with your values. Leave a comment, not for validation, but as a way to reinforce what you've learned. Repetition creates retention. Subscribe. Only if you're serious about rewiring how you think, how you act, and how you respond to chaos. This channel doesn't care for trends, gimmicks, or noise. Just silence, structure, and systems that work. You want results, not motivation. Then return here. Not when you're bored, but when you're ready.